The gun pressed cold against Amara's temple 30 stories above Seoul, her wedding dress still pristine, her husband of 3 hours watching from the doorway with eyes that finally showed emotion, pure, calculated rage. The masked man hissed in her ear.
Your husband didn't tell you why he really married you, did he?
And in that moment, as Dae-hyun moved like a predator across the balcony, Amara realized her mother's deathbed warning wasn't about love. It was about survival. Before you get lost in this incredible journey of love, danger, and cross-cultural passion, hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what happens next. Trust me, this story takes twists you'll never see coming. The gun pressed cold against Amara's temple as she stood frozen on the balcony of Dae-hyun's Seoul penthouse, 30 stories above the glittering city. Her wedding dress, an elegant fusion of Korean silk and Nigerian Ankara print, billowed in the night wind. The masked man behind her breathed heavily, his Korean threats punctuated by the distant sounds of wedding guests still celebrating inside. "Where are the files?" he hissed in accented English. Amara's heart hammered. "I don't know what you're talking about. I just got married 3 hours ago." The man laughed bitterly. "Your husband didn't tell you? How touching. The Ice Prince of Gangnam married you to protect you, and you don't even know why." Before Amara could process his words, the balcony door exploded open. Dae-hyun moved like lightning, his tuxedo jacket discarded, tie loosened for the fight. In 5 brutal seconds, the assailant was disarmed and unconscious on the marble floor. Dae-hyun's cold eyes, which had barely acknowledged Amara during their entire wedding ceremony, now burned with an intensity that made her step back. "Inside. Now," he commanded, gripping her wrist and pulling her through the penthouse. But let's rewind 12 hours to understand how a 26-year-old humanitarian worker from Lagos ended up in a marriage that began with a gun to her head. The morning had started in grief. Amara stood in her late mother's Lagos apartment, staring at the wedding attire laid out on the bed, traditional iro and buba in rich coral alongside a modern white gown. Her Aunt Chioma braided her hair with practiced fingers, each plait tight enough to make Amara wince. "You don't even know this Korean man," Chioma said for the 100th time. "Your mother just died 3 weeks ago, and now you're flying to Seoul to marry a stranger." Amara touched the gold locket around her neck, the last gift from Dr. Chidinma Okonkwo. Inside was a note in her mother's handwriting. "Trust him. Promise me." "Mama saved his life 6 months ago when he had sepsis in Lagos," Amara said quietly. "She called me from the hospital and said if anything ever happened to her, Dae-hyun Kang would protect me. She made me promise to trust him." "But why? What aren't you telling me?" Amara wished she knew. Her mother had been a brilliant physician, respected across Lagos for her humanitarian work. The official report said heart attack. But something in her mother's eyes during that last phone call had been desperate, afraid. And 3 days before she died, Dr. Okonkwo had sent Amara a cryptic email. "If you're reading this, don't trust anyone. Except him." In Seoul, Dae-hyun Kang stood in his office overlooking Gangnam, his expression carved from ice as his grandmother railed against the impending marriage. "A Nigerian woman? Have you lost your mind? What will the board say? What will society say?" Dae-hyun's joy tightened. At 32, he'd built a tech empire worth billions, earned his reputation as the Ice Prince through ruthless business deals and in complete emotional detachment. But 6 months ago, lying in a Lagos hospital bed burning with fever, a kind-eyed Nigerian doctor had saved his life and extracted a promise he couldn't break. "I made a promise to a dying woman," he said coldly. "I keep my promises. The wedding is happening. You didn't even know her." "I knew enough." He turned away, ending the conversation. What he didn't say was that Dr. Okonkwo had done more than save his life. In her final, desperate phone call 2 weeks before her death, she'd revealed something that set Dae-hyun on an investigation that consumed his every waking moment. The wedding ceremony at Seoul's most exclusive hotel was a surreal fusion of 2 worlds. Korean guests in hanbok whispered behind silk fans as Amara entered in traditional Nigerian attire, her dark skin glowing against coral beads and gold. The paibik ceremony felt mechanical. Dae-hyun barely looked at her as they performed the traditional bows, accepting dates and chestnuts from his stone-faced family. But when the Nigerian portion began, something shifted. As palm wine was poured and drums played, Amara felt her mother's absence like a physical wound. Dae-hyun, attempting the traditional dance with surprising grace for someone so rigid, caught her eye. For one brief moment, she saw something flicker in his expression, understanding, perhaps, or shared absurdity at this elaborate performance. Then it was gone. The reception passed in a blur of champagne and curious stares. Dae-hyun spent most of it on business calls, leaving Amara alone at the bridal table, drowning in grief and confusion. When he finally approached near midnight, his words were clinical. "We need to go. There are things you need to know." She'd expected something different on her wedding night, conversation, perhaps, or at least acknowledgement of the surreal situation. Instead, she found herself on that balcony in a strange city, with a gun to her head and a husband she didn't know saving her life. Now, in the locked study of his penthouse, Dae-hyun paced while Amara tried to stop shaking. The unconscious assailant had been removed by his head of security, a stoic man named Min-suk who'd appeared within minutes. "Sit down," Dae-hyun ordered, his voice still sharp with adrenaline. "Don't tell me what to do. Someone just tried to kill me at my own wedding, and you're acting like this is normal." "It is normal. For you. Now sit down, and I'll explain everything your mother didn't tell you." Amara sank into the leather chair, her wedding dress pooling around her. Dae-hyun pressed a button on his desk, and the wall behind him illuminated, a massive screen covered in documents, maps, photographs. Her mother's face appeared in dozens of pictures, circled in red. "Your mother didn't die of a heart attack," Dae-hyun said, his voice hard. "She was murdered." The world tilted. "What?" He slid a tablet across the desk. Toxicology reports. Pharmaceutical documents. Bank transfers. Timeline graphs showing her mother's declining health over 3 months, perfectly matching exposure to a slow-acting poison. She discovered that Nexus Pharmaceuticals was conducting illegal drug trials in Lagos communities, testing experimental medications on people without consent, falsifying data, bribing officials. When people died, they covered it up. His finger traced a timeline on the screen. Your mother started documenting everything. She had enough evidence to destroy them. Amara's hands trembled as she scrolled through the files. Her mother's name appeared again and again. Notes in her handwriting. "This can't be real." "It's very real. 3 months ago, someone poisoned her. Made it look natural. By the time I discovered what was happening, it was too late." Dae-hyun's voice cracked for the first time, showing a fissure in his ice. "I tried to warn her, but she wouldn't stop. She said people were dying and someone had to stand up." "You've known for 3 months?" Amara's voice rose. "You knew my mother was murdered, and you said nothing?" "I needed proof. And I needed you safe. Nexus knows she had a daughter. They know she might have shared her research." "That man on the balcony?" "He's the 3rd assassination attempt since your mother died." The room spun. Amara gripped the desk, grief and rage warring inside her. "Why didn't you go to the police?" "Because Nexus owns half the police in Lagos and Seoul. Politicians, judges, media, they've bought everyone who matters." He pulled up more files. "This conspiracy spans 4 continents. Nigeria, Korea, Kenya, Philippines. Dozens of communities used as testing grounds. Hundreds dead. Your mother wasn't the first person they killed. She was just the first to get close enough to expose them." Drop a comment below if you're as shocked as Amara right now. And don't forget to smash that like button. This story is about to get even more intense. ****. Amara stood abruptly, pacing the room. "So you married me to what? Keep me close? Use me as bait?" "I married you because your mother saved my life and asked me to protect you. Because in Korea, we understand yunhai, a grace debt that can never be repaid. And because. He paused, something vulnerable crossing his face. Because they're still hunting, and I gave her my word you'd be safe. He switched to halting, carefully practiced Igbo, and ni gi and woogie and yuzoik. Your mother didn't die naturally. Amara froze. This cold, detached billionaire had learned her mother's language. For 6 months, while she'd grieved alone in Lagos, this stranger had been investigating, learning, preparing. The marriage wasn't pity or obligation. It was protection. She collapsed into the chair, overwhelmed. Not crying from rejection or fear, but from the crushing weight of understanding. Her mother had known she was dying. Had known Amara would need someone strong enough to stand against pharmaceutical giants and ruthless enough to survive the fight. She'd chosen Dae-hyun not randomly, but strategically. Tell me everything, Amara said, wiping her tears. And then tell me how we make them pay. Over the next 3 hours, Dae-hyun laid out the full scope of the conspiracy. Nexus Pharmaceuticals, worth $30 billion, had been conducting illegal trials for 5 years. They'd targeted poor communities in developing nations, places where deaths could be explained away as natural, where officials could be bribed, where people were desperate enough to accept free medical care without asking questions. Dr. Okonkwo had stumbled onto the scheme while treating patients in Lagos. Strange side effects. Unusual medications. Patients who got sicker despite treatment. She'd started documenting everything, collecting blood samples, tracking medications. When she confronted a Nexus representative, they'd offered her money to stay quiet. She'd refused. That's when they decided to eliminate her, Dae-hyun said. But your mother was smart. She'd already started making copies of everything. She sent encrypted files to trusted colleagues. And when I was in her hospital recovering, she saw something in me. He pulled up a photograph, Dr. Okonkwo sitting beside his hospital bed, both smiling. Amara's breath caught. She'd never seen that photo. She said I reminded her of you, Dae-hyun continued softly. Armored, but not unfeeling. She showed me your picture, talked about your humanitarian work, your stubbornness. Said if anything happened to her, you'd need someone who understood duty and honor. Someone who wouldn't quit. So she recruited you. She trusted me. 2 weeks before she died, she called me, terrified. Said they were closing in. She'd sent you to that conference in Accra to get you out of Lagos. She begged me to promise, if she didn't survive, I'd protect you. I said yes. His hands clenched. I didn't know they'd move so fast. By the time I got back to Lagos, she was gone. Amara stared at the evidence wall, her mother's face watching her from dozens of photographs. All this time, she'd thought her mother's death was natural, tragic but unavoidable. Now she understood the truth. Her mother had been a warrior, fighting until her last breath. What's the plan? She asked. We finish what she started. We gather enough evidence to go public. We expose everything simultaneously, international press, regulatory agencies, law enforcement across multiple countries. We make it impossible for them to cover up. And the people trying to kill me? That's why you're here. In Seoul, I can protect you. My security team is extensive. This penthouse is a fortress. And as my wife, he hesitated on the word. You're under my protection 24/7. Amara looked at him, really looked at him for the first time. The Ice Prince of Gangnam, they called him. Heartless, ruthless, emotionally unavailable. But she saw the exhaustion in his eyes, the way his shoulders carried 6 months of investigation weight. He could have ignored her mother's request. Could have sent money or hired security. Instead, he'd married a stranger and put himself directly in the crossfire. I don't know if I can do this, she whispered. I'm not brave like my mother. Your mother said the same thing about herself. Bravery isn't fearlessness. It's being terrified and doing what's right anyway. Over the next 3 weeks, they fell into an unexpected partnership. Dae-hyun taught Amara how to navigate Seoul's corporate world, how to read people's intentions, how to bow without looking subservient. She taught him about her mother's research, connecting dots he'd missed, her medical knowledge illuminating patterns in the data. Late one night, both unable to sleep, they met in the penthouse kitchen. Dae-hyun was making ramyeon, the instant noodles a comfort from his university days. Amara added spices from the Nigerian grocery items he'd quietly stocked: pepper, crayfish, ihuru. The fusion soup was surprisingly good. "You let everyone think you're heartless," Amara said, tasting the broth. "Why?" Dae-hyun was quiet for a long moment. "Because heartless men don't have weaknesses. After my parents died when I was 20, I learned that caring makes you vulnerable. So I stopped caring. But you care about this. About justice for my mother. I care about keeping promises." He met her eyes. "And I care about you not becoming another name on their kill list." The words hung between them, heavier than he'd perhaps intended. Amara felt something shift, the partnership deepening into something neither of them had anticipated. Their investigation took them back to Lagos. Walking through Balagan Market, Amara held Dae-hyun's hand to keep him close in the chaotic crowds. It was the first casual physical contact between them, and neither pulled away. "Seoul's corporate towers didn't prepare you for this," she teased as he nearly got run over by a cart. "Nothing prepared me for you," he muttered. She stopped walking. "Was that flirting, Mr. Kang?" He had the grace to look embarrassed. Market observation. Purely tactical. But when she picked out vibrant Ankara fabric at a vendor's stall, holding it up to him with a smile, asking if his sister would like it, something in his expression softened. "You're thinking of my family? They're my family now too. Even if they don't want me." That night, after interviewing Dr. Adeyemi, her mother's colleague who provided additional evidence, they returned to their Lagos hotel exhausted but triumphant. They were getting close. Another month of evidence gathering, and they'd have enough to go public. Then everything fell apart. Back in Seoul, Dae-hyun's encrypted files finally cracked open the deepest layer of Nexus's conspiracy. What he found made his blood run cold. "Amara, you need to see this." She came to his office, saw his face, and knew it was bad. On his screen, a list of compromised officials and collaborators. And there, circled in red, Dr. Emmanuel Adeyemi. Amara's knees buckled. No. No, no, no. "He's been on their payroll for 3 years, Dae-hyun said grimly. "He wasn't helping your mother. He was watching her." The man who'd held Amara's hand at the funeral. Who'd looked her in the eye and called her mother brave. Who'd helped them just yesterday, providing evidence and contacts. It had all been a setup. "He knows where we are," Amara whispered. "Everything we've found, everyone we've talked to." The building's security alarm screamed to life. If your heart is racing right now, imagine how Amara feels. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the explosive conclusion of this story. ****. What followed was chaos. Armed men in the lobby. Dae-hyun grabbing emergency bags while his security team bought them time. His driver Min-suk appearing with the car, leading them through a high-speed chase across Seoul's neon-lit streets. In the car, Amara's hands wouldn't stop shaking. "They killed my mother. They'll kill us." Dae-hyun gripped her hand tightly. "Not while I'm breathing. That's what scares me." "What if you stop breathing?" His eyes met hers with an intensity that stopped her heart. "Then you keep fighting. Promise me." They reached a safe house, a modest apartment in Hongdae, far from Dae-hyun's usual luxury. Min-suk gave them 12 hours before Nexus would locate them. 12 hours, Dae-hyun said. Enough to finish this. In the quiet of the safe house, sitting on the floor with their backs against the wall, exhaustion finally caught up. The adrenaline faded, leaving only fear and the knowledge that tomorrow might be their last day. "Why did you really marry me?" Amara asked quietly. "I told you. I promised your mother." "The truth, Dae-hyun. Not the duty." "The truth." Silence stretched between them. When he finally spoke, his voice was raw. "Because when she showed me your photo, when she talked about you, your work with refugees, your stubbornness, your laugh, I saw someone worth protecting. And then I met you at the airport, saw you try not to cry during the flight, watched you honor traditions for people who didn't welcome you, and..." He stopped. And you became someone worth living for. I forgot what that felt like. After my parents died, after I built all this success, I forgot there was anything worth caring about besides winning. You reminded me. Amara's tears came then, hot and fast. I'm terrified. Not of dying. Of losing you. I didn't ask for this, any of it. The marriage, the investigation, the feeling like I can't breathe when you're not near me. I didn't ask to fall in. She stopped, but he heard what she couldn't say. In love, he finished softly. Yes. Dae-hyun cupped her face with both hands, his thumb brushing away tears. In Korea, we have a saying, Yinban. Destiny between two people. I don't know if I believe in it, but I believe in you. In us. The kiss was inevitable, desperate, real. 6 months of investigation, 3 weeks of partnership, countless hours of unspoken tension culminating in this moment. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Amara rested her forehead against his. Tomorrow, we end this, Dae-hyun said. We expose everything. Live broadcast, simultaneous evidence drops to international press, files to Interpol. We burn it all down. They'll come for us. Let them. We'll be ready. Together. Always. The next morning, they executed their plan with military precision. From the safe house, they launched a live-streamed press conference. Amara, wearing one of her mother's necklaces, spoke directly to the camera. My name is Amara Kang. My mother, Dr. Chidinma Okonkwo, was murdered 3 months ago for trying to expose pharmaceutical crimes against African communities. Today, we're finishing what she started. Dae-hyun stood beside her, their evidence flooding the internet simultaneously. Documents. Audio recordings. Video testimonies. Bank transfers showing bribes. Names of every corrupted official, every compromised politician. The scope was devastating. Within hours, the world erupted. CEO Park of Nexus Pharmaceuticals arrested on live television. Dr. Adeyemi taken into custody in Lagos. International investigations launched across 4 continents. The conspiracy that had seemed invincible crumbled under the weight of truth. But victory came with costs. Death threats poured in. Dae-hyun's company faced intense scrutiny. Amara's face was everywhere, privacy destroyed, her life dissected by media vultures. For weeks, they lived in protective custody, watching their world transform from the inside of safe houses and secure locations. 6 months later, they stood in a Lagos cemetery for Dr. Okonkwo's proper memorial. Dae-hyun had arranged everything full traditional Igbo rites integrated with Korean elements. Musicians played. Elders blessed them. Both families attended, in person and virtually, the cultural barriers finally broken down. Amara's Aunt Chioma embraced Dae-hyun with tears in her eyes. You kept your promise to my sister. You protected our girl. She protected herself, Dae-hyun said quietly. I just stood beside her. His grandmother, calling from Seoul, had softened considerably. He learns fast. Good husband. At the grave, after the ceremony ended, Amara knelt in the grass. I wish you could have seen this, Mama. You were right about him. About everything. Dae-hyun joined her, hand on her shoulder. She knew. That's why she trusted me with you. That evening, on the rooftop of a Lagos hotel overlooking the city, Dae-hyun pulled documents from his jacket. Annulment papers, he said, handing them to Amara. The debt is paid. The conspiracy is gone. You're safe now. If you want to end this marriage, if you want your freedom, I'll understand. Amara looked at the papers, then at him. Is that what you want? I want you to choose freely. No duty. No debt. No obligation. She tore the papers in half, then quarters, letting the pieces scatter in the wind. I choose you. Not because my mother asked. Not because of what we survived. But because of who you are. Who we are together. She smiled through tears. I choose this messy, complicated, cross-cultural fusion cooking, sometimes terrible kimchi jollof life. With you. Dae-hyun laughed, a real laugh, free and unguarded. Kimchi jollof was your grandmother's idea. Peace offering. It was terrible. Terrible things made with love are still love. He pulled her close. In Korean. In Igbo. A hero MGI Ananya. In English, I love you. In every language, it's the same truth. Then say it in every language. I want to hear them all. 6 months later, Amara stood at a Seoul conference presenting their research on ethical pharmaceutical practices. Her Korean had improved dramatically. Dae-hyun sat in the front row, pride evident on his formerly ice-cold face. They'd launched the Dr. Okonkwo Memorial Foundation, funding healthcare initiatives across Nigeria, Kenya, and the Philippines. Nexus Pharmaceuticals had been dismantled. 17 executives faced criminal charges. New international regulations had been enacted. But the best moments were the quiet ones. Cooking in their kitchen, a permanent fusion of Korean and Nigerian flavors. Video calls with both families, chaotic with laughter and competing advice. Morning coffee on their balcony, watching Seoul wake up. One evening, Amara's hand rested on her barely visible baby bump. Dae-hyun noticed immediately. "What will we name her?" he asked. "Her? Already decided. I have Nunchi, remember? And she'll be as stubborn as her mother. And as protective as her father. We'll need a name that works in both languages." They brainstormed together, debating meanings and sounds, until Amara's phone rang. Another community in Ghana wanted to partner with their foundation. More work to do. More lives to protect. More justice to pursue. Dae-hyun watched his wife, fierce, brilliant, unstoppable, talk passionately about expanding their work. The Ice Prince of Gangnam had melted completely, and he'd never been happier. Later, as Seoul's lights glittered below them, Amara turned to him. "My mother's last words were, trust him." I thought it was about survival. But she knew it was about living. About loving across borders, languages, and cultures. About choosing partnership even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard, Dae-hyun agreed, kissing her forehead. Their story had started with death and duty, with guns on balconies and impossible promises. But it had become something neither of them expected, a love built on trust, forged in fire, stronger for having survived the impossible. And somewhere, Dr. Chidinma Okonkwo smiled, knowing her daughter was exactly where she needed to be. If this story moved you, gave you hope, or made you believe in love that conquers all odds, do 3 things. Subscribe to this channel for more incredible stories. Drop a comment telling us what you thought of Amara and Dae-hyun's journey. And smash that like button. These stories need your support to reach others who need to hear them. Thank you for watching, and remember, sometimes the most unexpected promises lead to the most extraordinary love stories.